A tow yard manager in Hollywood noticed the smell first. A black Tesla Model X had been sitting in his lot for 2 days, towed off a residential street in the Hollywood Hills. Nobody had come to claim it. And on the morning of September 8, 2025, the smell coming from the front trunk was impossible to ignore. When LAPD opened that trunk, they found 2 bags. Inside the first bag, a head and a torso. Inside the second, arms, legs. The remains belonged to a 14-year-old girl named Celeste Rivas Hernandez. She had been missing since April. Her family had reported her as a runaway, and her body had been decomposing in that trunk through an entire Los Angeles summer, 4 months, while the man prosecutors say put her there was out on tour, performing sold-out shows across the country. That man is David Anthony Burke. The world knows him as D4VD, the artist behind the song Romantic Homicide. Burke then returned to Los Angeles. In the weeks that followed, May 1st and May 7th, a series of online purchases were delivered to his address. 2 chainsaws, a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, a shovel ordered from Home Depot, an inflatable blue kiddie pool. Most of these orders were placed under the name Victoria Mendez, a name that does not appear to belong to any real person. A burn cage, a farm incinerator capable of reaching 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit, was also found in the home after a search warrant was executed. It was still in its original box, never assembled. One of the chainsaws had never been used, items apparently considered and abandoned, but one item was used. The inflatable pool was placed in the basement garage of the Hollywood Hills mansion. According to prosecutors, it was inside that garage, in that pool, that Burke dismembered Celeste's body. The medical examiner's autopsy noted penetrating wounds with smooth edges consistent with sharp force injuries. Blue plastic fragments, embedded in the wounds, were collected by a trace evidence specialist and submitted for analysis. DNA testing of biological samples recovered from the garage matched Celeste. After the dismemberment, according to prosecutors, Burke placed her remains in bags, her head and torso in one, her arms and legs in another, and loaded them into the front trunk of his Tesla Model X. The car sat parked on a street near his home, and then Burke left for tour. Surveillance video reviewed by investigators confirmed that David Burke was the last person to drive the Tesla. On July 29, 2025, the day he departed Los Angeles for the first stop of his Withered tour. The car remained parked, undisturbed, while Burke performed in Santa Barbara, then at venues across the country. On September 5, 2025, the Tesla was towed, found abandoned on a Hollywood street, about 400 feet from Burke's rented mansion. 3 days later, on September 8th, a tow yard manager noticed the smell. The remains inside the front trunk were severely decomposed. The summer heat had accelerated the process for months. Visual identification was not possible. Celeste was identified through her orthodontic records, a child who was still wearing braces when she died. Her body was found one day after what would have been her 15th birthday. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner completed the death investigation on December 9, 2025. Cause of death: 2 penetrating wounds to the torso with injury to the liver. Manner of death: homicide. The report was sealed by court order while law enforcement built the case. In January 2026, a grand jury was convened. Burke's parents, Colleen and Dawood Burke, were subpoenaed to testify. The family's attorneys challenged the subpoenas in Texas courts. A Texas appeals court denied the petition. His parents were required to comply. Also in January 2026, a former associate of Burke, known as Neo Langston, appeared before the grand jury under a material witness warrant. Langston had been close to Burke in the period surrounding Celeste's disappearance. What he told the grand jury is not publicly known. In February 2026, Texas court documents confirmed Burke was the named target of the grand jury investigation, with murder on the table. On April 16, 2026, David Anthony Burke was arrested at a Hollywood Hills residence at 5 p.m., held without bail. On April 20th, 2026, he was formally charged with first-degree murder, capital murder, with special circumstance allegations of lying in wait, murder for financial gain, and killing a witness in a criminal investigation. He was additionally charged with 1 count of continuous sexual abuse of a child under the age of 14, and 1 count of unlawful mutilation of human remains. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office has not yet decided whether to seek the death penalty. Burke pleaded not guilty to all charges. His attorneys released a statement. The actual evidence in this case, they said, will show that David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez and was not the cause of her death. The preliminary hearing is currently scheduled for June 29, 2026. Prosecutors have described what they call a procurement trail, a documented sequence of purchases made after the killing that they say reflects both planning and a failed attempt to cover the plan's origins. The Amazon order history under the Victoria Mendez alias is linked by payment methods and shipping addresses directly back to Burke. The alias itself, prosecutors argue, is evidence. It demonstrates awareness that the purchases could be traced, and an attempt to create distance that ultimately failed. The burn cage sat in its box in plain sight of the people who came and went through the mansion. A farm incinerator with no legitimate purpose in a rented Hollywood Hills home, ordered to a fictional name, never used. And then there is the digital evidence found on Burke's iPhone. Investigators recovered what prosecutors described as a significant amount of child pornography on the device. That evidence is part of the 10-plus terabytes already turned over to the defense. The iCloud records tell another story. Text exchanges between Burke and Celeste, going back years. References to sex. References to pregnancy. References to Plan B. Explicit photographs that prosecutors say corroborate the sexual abuse allegations. And the final messages from April 22nd and the early hours of April 23rd, in which Celeste told Burke she was going to expose what had been done to her. Both Burke and Celeste had matching tattoos, the word shh on their index fingers, a shared symbol from a relationship that was always meant to stay hidden. She was still wearing her black tube top when she arrived at his mansion that night. She was still wearing the engagement ring when her body was found. She was 14 years old. She met him when she was 11. Her braces were still on when she died. Close David Anthony Burke, D4VD, is currently held in Los Angeles County Jail without bail, awaiting a preliminary hearing scheduled for June 29, 2026. He is charged with capital murder. He has pleaded not guilty. His attorneys maintain his innocence. Celeste Rivas Hernandez was 14 years old. Her remains were found one day after what would have been her 15th birthday. She was identified through her orthodontic records. Her family is still waiting for justice. The preliminary hearing begins June 29th. That is when prosecutors will lay out the full case before a judge. The DNA from the garage, the Amazon trail, the digital evidence, the iCloud records, the toxicology, the forensic analysis of those wounds. Every piece of what they have built over the past year. We will be covering it here. Every update, every development, the moment there is a verdict. If this case stayed with you, you are exactly who this channel is built for. We do not just cover crimes, we follow the evidence, the people, and the truth wherever it leads. Subscribe so you never miss a case. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think really happened? We read every single one.